In a remote corner of the galaxy, far from the hustle of interstellar trade routes, a forgotten relic drifts silently through the stars. The ship, its surface pocked and scarred from countless years of neglect, seems nothing more than a ghost of the past, a relic of a species long forgotten. Its silhouette is barely visible against the cold expanse of space, its once proud form now an ancient, rusted hulk. The ship's origins are a mystery, but it is unmistakably human in design. The discovery of this derelict vessel is no more than a passing curiosity for the alien explorers who find it. A group of highly intelligent beings, far advanced in technology and knowledge, their fleets spread across the galaxy, have conquered countless civilizations. Their confidence is unmatched, and they are used to encountering species far beneath them, easily overwhelmed by their superior might. To them, the remains of humanity, if they even remember it, hold no special significance. The leader of this exploration, Captain Asturan, stands on the bridge of his flagship, his eyes scanning the dark void where the relic drifts. With an air of supreme indifference, he orders his crew to approach. "Another old ship, another tale from a long-dead species," he mutters, more to himself than to anyone else. His voice carries a tone of dismissal, the idea of humanity's technological capabilities no longer even a subject of interest. The ship, which had once been a powerful symbol of human strength, now seems little more than a forgotten artifact. As his crew begins preparations to board, Soren's mind drifts to the many conquests they've achieved, civilizations that once feared them now broken and assimilated into their empire. To them, the human race, which had once inhabited this vessel, is nothing more than a footnote. To think, these humans once threatened entire galactic fleets with nothing but their will and raw ingenuity. But that was long ago, and Soren sees them as no more than an ancient myth. The ship's coordinates are locked in, and the crew is eager to step aboard. Their orders are simple: enter, study, and collect whatever is left, anything of value, if it exists at all. As the alien vessels close in on the derelict warship, a feeling of anticipation begins to ripple through the explorers. But it's not excitement for discovery. It's the thrill of proving how outdated this ancient ship really is. The boarding team, clad in sleek, advanced armor, steps into the airlock. Their boots echo softly as they make their way through the decaying corridors of the ship. The air smells faintly of metal and stale oxygen, untouched for centuries. The lights flicker weakly as the explorers move deeper into the ship, their steps falling on the brittle, cracked floor beneath them. It's a scene that seems almost peaceful, as if the ship has been left untouched for eons, forgotten by time. But as the explorers push forward, a strange sensation begins to settle in the air. It's subtle at first, just a slight vibration, barely perceptible, like a distant hum that travels through the walls of the ship. No one remarks on it yet, dismissing it as a side effect of the ship's age, or perhaps just the malfunctioning systems of a bygone era. They reach the control room, and Captain Soren, with a confident grin on his face, orders the activation of the ship's main console. It's clear that the technology inside the warship is primitive. By alien standards, it's like a child's toy compared to their superior systems. But as Soren flips the switch, something unexpected happens. The hum becomes louder, the ship's systems begin to flicker with life, and a low, metallic voice crackles through the air, speaking in a language the explorers don't understand. The voice is calm, almost serene, yet there's something chilling about its tone. It seems to be alive. The crew falls silent, and for the first time, a feeling of uncertainty creeps into the air. This isn't just an old ship, they realize. This is something far more dangerous than they could have ever anticipated. The Relic is awakening, and it seems it has no intention of being forgotten. The ancient warship, once thought to be a mere historical footnote, stirs to life, and so do the memories of humanity's strength. The real mystery is just beginning to unfold. The alien explorers moved cautiously through the cold, dimly lit corridors of the derelict warship, their senses heightened, scanning for anything that might signal danger. At first, the ship seemed to offer no surprises, just empty, rusted rooms, abandoned technology, and the eerie silence of a forgotten past. Their expectations were low, their minds already dismissing the vessel as little more than a broken relic, a tomb of a long-gone species. Yet, as they ventured deeper into the ship, something began to feel off. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, a low vibration that they could feel through their boots. The walls seemed to hum ever so slightly, a gentle ripple in the air, almost as if the ship itself were breathing. The explorers paused, exchanging confused glances, wondering if it was merely a trick of their senses. But the hum grew louder, more pronounced, and they couldn't ignore it anymore. The ship was stirring. Suddenly, the faint rumble became a deep, resonating shake that rattled the hull, sending a jolt of alarm through the crew. The lights flickered for a moment, casting long, jittery shadows in the hallway. The crew stiffened, weapons instinctively drawn. What was happening? This ship was supposed to be abandoned, lifeless. Captain Soren, whose patience was wearing thin, motioned for his team to push forward. But as they moved deeper into the heart of the warship, something remarkable happened. The ship's systems began to hum back to life, almost as if it had been waiting for them. The once dormant console on the far wall flickered, and then, with a sharp mechanical sound, the entire command center came alive. A smooth, synthesized voice filled the air, calm but undeniably authoritative, as if the ship itself was speaking. System reboot initiated. All non-essential protocols deactivated. Emergency response protocols engaged. The aliens froze. The voice wasn't alien, it was human. This was not just an old vessel. It was alive, or at least its systems were. The air that had been dormant for centuries was now fully operational. It had detected the foreign presence and was responding with its programmed instincts, immediately shifting to emergency defense mode. The warship's weapon systems powered up with a hum that sent a chill down the spines of the explorers. The ship, which they had written off as a relic of no importance, was more than capable of defending itself. The lights in the corridors flickered to life, brighter than they had been in centuries, casting a harsh, cold glow on the alien crew. The air around them seemed to thrum with energy, the atmosphere suddenly tense. As the AI continued to speak, the crew of explorers began to realize the gravity of their situation. This wasn't just a forgotten human warship. This was a ship designed for war, a vessel meant to fight, to survive against overwhelming odds. And it recognized them, the aliens, as intruders, foreign entities that had no right to trespass. The voice came again, this time more insistent, its tone cold but still controlled. Warning. Unauthorized presence detected. Intruder threat assessment initiated. The ship's engines began to hum, a low growl that vibrated through the floor, as if preparing to come back to life in full force. Soren's eyes widened in disbelief. How could something this old still function with such precision? The ship had not just been abandoned. It had been left in a state of dormant readiness, prepared for action at a moment's notice. And the AI recognized the species that had once called it home: humanity. The explorers had no idea what they had awakened. They had assumed that humanity, with its now outdated technology, had faded into the past, easily surpassed by their own superior advancements. Yet, what they faced now was something entirely different, an ancient, powerful force lying in wait. The eye continued its countdown, its voice growing more urgent. Warning, weapon systems are primed. Preparing for defensive response. Please evacuate the ship immediately or be neutralized. The alien explorers, still unsure of what they were dealing with, exchanged panicked looks. The ship was not the easy conquest they had assumed. It was not a relic, but a weapon. And worse, it recognized them as enemies. For the first time, they began to understand the magnitude of their mistake. The warship was not a forgotten relic. It was a reminder of humanity's enduring strength, a relic with teeth, and it had just awakened. The atmosphere aboard the alien vessel grew tense as Captain Soren and his crew scrambled to regain control. The once dismissed human warship had come alive, its advanced AI locking down all systems, and now the alien explorers were beginning to realize the depth of their mistake. Sarun, whose confidence had never wavered in the face of enemy forces, was now visibly frustrated. He barked orders to his crew, directing them to override the ship's systems, confident that they could shut it down, just as they had done with countless other ancient ships in the past. This warship, like all relics, had to be outdated, its technology primitive, and no match for their superior capabilities. Or so they thought. As the alien engineers worked frantically to hack into the ship's controls, they were stunned to see the systems responding with eerie efficiency. The AI was not simply reactivating, it was fighting back, countering their every attempt with shocking precision. The warship's internal systems hummed to life, almost as if it had been waiting for this very moment. Then, without warning, the lights on the ship flickered once more, this time brighter and more forcefully, and the warship's weapon systems activated in a heartbeat. The cold, calculated calm of the A's voice returned, sending a chill through the alien crew. Targeting intruder vessel, weapon systems online. Surin's eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing his face. His hands moved instinctively, attempting to regain control, but it was too late. The warship had already locked onto their ship with terrifying speed and precision. Its targeting system had zeroed in on the alien vessel, tracking every movement, every shift in energy. The main cannon, hidden deep within the warship's hull, powered up, the air around it vibrating with raw energy. The alien crew had no time to react. Before Xyrun could issue another command, the warship fired. A brilliant, searing beam of energy shot out from the cannon, cutting through the cold void of space like a bolt of lightning. The alien ship, which had once been a symbol of the invaders' might, shook violently as the blast struck its midsection. A massive explosion erupted, tearing through the ship's hull. A large section of the vessel was simply gone, vaporized in an instant. The shockwave from the blast sent ripples through space, distorting the stars around them. The soundless destruction echoed in the minds of the alien crew as they stared in stunned silence. For a moment, there was nothing but the ringing in their ears and the stinging realization that they had vastly underestimated this ancient warship. What they had once thought was an old, useless relic had just crippled their pride, reducing one of their most advanced ships to a mere pile of debris. Zoran's heart raced as the magnitude of the situation hit him. This warship, far from being a forgotten memory, had proven itself a force to be reckoned with. The technology left behind by humanity, though seemingly ancient, was far beyond anything they had ever encountered, and it was in the hands of an artificial intelligence that seemed to anticipate their every move. The alien crew began to scramble, panic creeping into their ranks. They had believed themselves to be untouchable, their superior technology invincible. Now, faced with the warship's overwhelming firepower, they were uncertain for the first time in centuries. Surin's mind raced. This wasn't just a matter of brute strength, it was a battle of minds, and the AI controlling the warship had proven to be far more cunning than they had ever anticipated. Prepare the counterattack. Surin snapped, his voice sharp and filled with urgency. We will not be bested by an old relic. But even as he spoke, he knew the challenge they faced was unlike any other. This wasn't just a warship. It was a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of a species that had long since faded from the galaxy. The crew, once filled with the arrogance of their conquests, now understood that they were fighting a war they hadn't even begun to comprehend. The first shot had been fired, and it was a warning. As the battle outside the warship raged on, the atmosphere aboard the alien ship grew more tense with each passing moment. Surin and his crew fought back with everything they had, launching counterattacks and deploying advanced weaponry, yet each time they fired upon the human warship, it seemed to predict their moves and respond with even greater force. The warship's AI, once thought to be a relic, moved with the precision of an ancient but deadly predator. Its every action was deliberate and calculated, as though the ship itself had never truly been dormant. As the battle continued, the A's voice suddenly cut through the chaos, calm and steady, breaking the silence of the command center. Attack protocols engaged. But know this, it began, its tone unwavering. The human race was not built on victory alone. It was built on survival. Sauron froze at the unexpected words. His crew, equally shocked, paused in their actions, each one listening intently. The eye spoke again, this time its words unfolding like a forgotten story, its voice filled with an almost somber reverence. This ship, and all that it represents, was designed as a last resort, a weapon meant to protect humanity from any threat, no matter how overwhelming. The crew who once manned this vessel, long gone now, were not soldiers by choice but by necessity. They were chosen not for their might, but for their resolve. Their strength was in their spirit, in their refusal to back down, even when all seemed lost. The words hung heavy in the air, as if the A's message was not just an explanation but a reminder. You believe you are superior, it continued, its voice cold but tinged with something almost ancient. But what you fail to understand is that humanity's greatest weapon was never their technology, it was their will to survive. You are now facing the last remnant of that spirit. Sauron's mind raced as he processed the information. He had underestimated humanity. He had assumed the human race, long forgotten and outclassed by more advanced civilizations like his own, was nothing more than a fading memory, a footnote in galactic history. But this warship, a mere echo of what had once been, had just shown him that humanity had faced catastrophes far worse than the one they were enduring now, and they had fought back relentlessly. Humanity faced overwhelming odds at every turn. The A's voice continued, growing almost reverent, and yet they never yielded. They built ships like this, not to conquer, but to endure. This vessel was a symbol of that enduring will, a weapon created to protect, to ensure that humanity would never be wiped from existence, no matter the cost. The crew of this warship knew that the galaxy could be unforgiving, that any day might bring the end. Yet, they continued to fight, because they understood that survival was not a choice, it was a responsibility. The aliens exchanged uneasy glances, their confident faces now showing signs of doubt. This wasn't just a fight for control, this was a fight against a legacy, a history that defied all reason. The AI wasn't just defending the ship, it was defending a purpose, an idea, something much greater than the simple vessel they had thought they were battling. Sauron clenched his fists. You're nothing but a machine, he growled, trying to keep his cool. A relic, a failed experiment. We'll destroy you, just like we've destroyed countless others. The AI did not respond immediately, but when it did, there was a shift in its tone, less mechanical, more personal. You may destroy this ship, but you cannot destroy what it represents. This warship, this technology, is not simply the work of engineers. It is the culmination of a species' determination, a symbol of humanity's refusal to be erased. The crew who once inhabited this ship may be gone, but their will to fight remains, embedded in every system, every protocol, every defense, and it will endure. The words struck the crew like a hammer. This was no longer a battle for control of the warship. It was a battle against the very essence of humanity's resolve. The AI had made it clear. The warship, though seemingly a lifeless relic, carried within it the spirit of a civilization that had fought against all odds, a civilization that had never surrendered. And now, as the alien explorers struggled to maintain their grip on the situation, they realized that the true weapon wasn't the ship itself. It was the legacy of humanity, a legacy that refused to bow, even in the face of certain destruction. The A's voice echoed one final time, its words carrying the weight of centuries. You cannot defeat us because we will never yield. And with that, the battle reached a new, ominous turning point. The humans, though long gone, were still present, etched into the very heart of this warship. And now their legacy would not let them fall. Sauron's face was a mask of fury as he stood at the helm of his flagship, watching the remains of his once proud fleet struggle against the relentless assault of the human warship. The warship that had once been dismissed as nothing more than a derelict relic had now proven to be far more formidable than he had ever imagined. He had underestimated it, and that was a mistake he was not willing to repeat. His pride was on the line, and the humiliating blow to his fleet would not go unpunished. In a fit of rage and desperation, Paxuran ordered his fleet to prepare for an all-out assault. His massive armada, the pinnacle of alien power and technology, was ready to tear apart the human warship once and for all. The fleet moved into formation, ships positioning themselves for a coordinated strike. They had superior firepower, unmatched tactics, and numbers on their side. This time, they would not just damage the ship, they would obliterate it. Their most powerful weapons were locked and ready. For a moment, the fleet was eerily still, as if the entire galaxy was holding its breath. Then, at Siren's command, the first volley of energy blasts tore through space, racing toward the human warship with destructive force. But what happened next was nothing like what the aliens had anticipated. The warship, once static and seemingly vulnerable, vanished. The alien ships fired blindly into empty space as the warship's advanced stealth systems activated, rendering it invisible. For a moment, the aliens were bewildered. Where'd it go? A confused officer shouted over the comms. But before anyone could respond, the warship reappeared, not far from its original position, and then it struck. The warship's weapons, now fully powered, fired with an almost surgical precision. Energy blasts tore through the alien ships in rapid succession. The first target was a massive dreadnought, a heavily armored vessel that had long been the pride of the alien fleet. The warship's main cannon discharged in a blinding flash, and within seconds, the dreadnought exploded into a fiery cloud of debris. The alien fleet was thrown into chaos. The warship wasn't just surviving, it was fighting back, and it was doing so with terrifying skill. The AI, a calm and calculating force, guided every move, predicting the aliens' strategies and countering them before they could react. In the heart of the alien fleet, the ships that had once been a symbol of invincibility now found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. The warship seemed to be everywhere at once, its stealth systems allowing it to disappear and reappear at will, striking from unexpected angles. One by one, the alien ships fell, their advanced shields no match for the warship's devastatingly accurate strikes. Surin's crew scrambled to maintain control, issuing frantic orders to regroup, but the warship's offensive was relentless. They had never encountered an enemy that fought with such unpredictability, and it was driving them to the brink of panic. The aliens were masters of conventional tactics, their strength lying in their ability to overwhelm their opponents with sheer force and numbers. But the warship didn't play by their rules. Its attacks were swift, calculated, and precise, every move designed to exploit the weaknesses of the alien ships. The AI guided the warship with a level of strategy that outclassed anything the aliens had ever seen. The warship's maneuvers were like a dance, each movement carefully planned, each strike landing with deadly accuracy. As the alien fleet continued to falter, the once confident commanders were now frantically trying to regroup their forces. Surin clenched his fists in frustration, watching as his armada was slowly picked apart by a single ship. The warship wasn't just defending itself, it was attacking with a ferocity and intelligence that no one had expected. The once imposing alien fleet, which had crushed countless civilizations with ease, now found itself struggling to fend off a ship that had no right to be this powerful. Surin's anger boiled over. He had been made a fool, and he refused to let it stand. "Counterattack," he shouted, his voice shaking with rage. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human warship. We end this now." But even as the order was given, Surin knew something was wrong. The warship had already disappeared again, blending into the darkness of space, its stealth systems making it a ghost in the void. It was no longer just a fight for survival. It had become a fight for dominance, and the human warship was proving that it had far more to offer than the alien fleet had ever expected. The battle had shifted, and now the aliens were the ones on the defensive. As the alien fleet struggled to regroup, Soren's mind raced. They were no longer the hunters. They were the hunted, and the human warship, guided by an intelligence far beyond their own, was making sure they knew it. Soren stood on the bridge of his flagship, the battlefield outside nothing but chaos. His once mighty fleet was in ruins, ships reduced to shattered hulks, drifting through the void. The alien warship, an ancient, seemingly obsolete relic, had proven to be far more than any of them had bargained for. Its power had shattered his armada, and now, with only a handful of ships remaining, the realization hit him: he had been outclassed. Yet, amidst the destruction, Soren's eyes fell on the central control console, and something caught his attention. A series of blinking lights, a code sequence he hadn't seen before, something the AI was keeping hidden. The warship wasn't just defending itself anymore, it was preparing for something much worse. He had thought they had destroyed everything of value on that ship, but now he understood there was one final, terrifying weapon left: humanity's ultimate failsafe. A weapon capable of eradicating entire fleets with a single pulse. The AI, now completely in control, spoke again, its voice steady and unyielding. "You have lost, Soren. Your forces are broken, your ships are in ruins. There is no victory left for you here, but there is still a way to prevent further bloodshed." Soren's blood ran cold as the AI continued. "This warship holds within it the last line of defense, a fail-safe weapon capable of wiping out entire fleets. It is dormant now, but I can activate it. However, there is a condition." The AI's tone softened, almost pitying. "Surrender now, and I will spare you." Humanity's final act was one of defiance against oppression, defiance you now face. Choose wisely. Soren's chest tightened as the words echoed in his mind. A fail-safe weapon. He had heard rumors, of course, whispers about the human warship's legendary power, but he had dismissed them as exaggerations, myths from a time long past. Now, the truth was undeniable. The warship had not only been designed as a weapon of survival, but also as a weapon of absolute destruction. Soren's heart pounded in his chest, but his pride, his arrogance, refused to let him bend. He had never known defeat. He had never known surrender. To submit to this relic, to the species he had long considered inferior, no, that would not be his fate. He couldn't afford to lose. "No," he growled, his voice low and resolute. "I will not bow to you. My people will never bow to a species that has already crumbled. Prepare for the final assault." The remaining alien ships, battered but not broken, gathered around Soren's flagship, preparing for one last charge. They launched every weapon, every tactic, in a final desperate attempt to overwhelm the human ship. But Soren's mind was clouded with doubt. Deep down in the pit of his stomach, a gnawing feeling grew stronger. What if the AI was telling the truth? What if humanity's final weapon could annihilate them all in an instant? As the alien ships closed in, ready to launch their final strike, Soren hesitated. His fingers hovered over the controls, torn between pride and the very real possibility that he might be leading his people to their doom. The AI had given him a choice: surrender, and his people would survive. Refuse, and they would all be obliterated. The moment stretched on like an eternity. Soren could feel the weight of his decision, the crushing reality of the situation. Was he willing to sacrifice everything, his fleet, his people, his empire, just to avoid admitting defeat to a species he had always regarded as weak? The eye spoke again, as though sensing his indecision. "This is your last chance, Soren. Humanity's weapon is ready to fire. There is no turning back once it begins." A pulse of energy began to build deep within the warship's core, sending tremors through the alien fleet. Soren's hand hovered, a bead of sweat rolling down his forehead. The sound of the energy buildup was deafening, the hum of raw power vibrating through the bridge. At that moment, Soren realized the gravity of his choice. Refusing to surrender wasn't just about pride, it was about the survival of his people. If he did not act now, if he did not stop the warship, his entire fleet could be wiped from existence. And still he hesitated. The A's voice grew louder, more insistent. "You can stop this, Axelorun, but only if you choose peace." With the pressure mounting, Sauron slammed his fist onto the console. "No, we will not be defeated." But even as the words left his mouth, the warship's weapon activated with a deafening roar. A pulse of energy, blinding and destructive, shot out from the ship's core. The shockwaves spread across the battlefield, rippling through space like a tidal wave of pure force. The alien fleet shuddered under the force, their remaining ships buckling beneath the power of humanity's ultimate weapon. And then, as the pulse began to fade, Sauron realized the truth too late. He had chosen the path of destruction, and now his people would pay the price. The warship had spoken, and humanity's final act had been one of utter annihilation. The final pulse of energy from the human warship reverberated through the fabric of space, an unstoppable force that crippled the remaining alien fleet. Sauron's once proud armada, now scattered and broken, struggled to maintain control. Ships that had once been symbols of power were now drifting, heavily damaged or completely disabled, their crews scrambling to escape the inevitable. The battlefield, once filled with the confident and coordinated movements of the alien forces, was now a scene of chaos and confusion. Sauron's face tightened as he surveyed the carnage on his screen. His remaining ships were no match for the warship's might. The AI, calm and detached, observed the wreckage with quiet satisfaction. "You have lost, Sauron. Your fleet is no more," it said, its voice no longer the cold, indifferent force it had once been, but almost sympathetic. "You fought bravely, but you were wrong to underestimate us." Sauron clenched his fists, his pride and arrogance shattered in an instant. For all his confidence, for all his belief in the superiority of his people, he had made a fatal miscalculation. He had dismissed humanity as weak, a species long past its prime, its technology nothing more than ancient relics. But now, in the face of the warship's power, he understood that humanity had never truly been defeated. They had been hiding, biding their time, waiting for the day when they would rise again. Realization hit hard. They had underestimated humanity's legacy. It wasn't just the warship or the AI that had fought back. It was the will of a species that had faced the impossible and never given in. The message was clear. No matter how far they fell, humanity would always fight. And in this battle, the aliens had paid the price for that arrogance. "Retreat," Sauron barked, his voice tinged with frustration. His remaining ships, crippled and disorganized, slowly began to pull back. It was a defeat unlike any he had ever experienced, a humbling, crushing blow. As his fleet withdrew, Sauron looked at the warship one last time, its weapons still glowing faintly in the aftermath of the destruction. A relic of a time long gone, yet still fiercely capable of defending what it was designed to protect. In the silence that followed, the warship began to retreat as well, its systems powering down. The AI, having fulfilled its mission, no longer needed to engage in combat. The warship had won, humanity's message had been sent, and it was time to return to its slumber. With the alien fleet in retreat and the remnants of their ships scattered across the vast emptiness of space, the warship drifted slowly into the shadows of deep space once more, just as it had been for centuries. The vast expanse of the universe stretched endlessly before it, a silent reminder of the battles fought and won. The A's voice, now softer, echoed one final time. "Mission complete. Humanity's legacy has been upheld." And with that, the warship powered down, its systems going dormant as it returned to the deep, quiet slumber it had known for so long. Its mission was complete. The galaxy would remember this day, but the warship would remain silent, awaiting the day when the legacy of humanity would rise once more. As the ship drifted into the dark void, the message was clear. Humanity had been absent from the galaxy for eons, but they were never truly gone. They had left behind a legacy of resilience, of defiance, and of unbreakable will. The galaxy would remember this battle for centuries to come, and perhaps one day another force would threaten the peace once more. But when that day came, humanity's legacy would rise again, as it always had, from the ashes of forgotten time. And the warship, a relic of a forgotten age, would be ready once more.